Welcome to JWL Sports, where I review all the best sports clips from around the country. Now, you're probably wondering, why should I watch over here instead of over there? Because over there, they don't pay attention to anything you have to say. They don't respect us. They don't care about us. They say this all the time. They talk down to us. They think we're just a bunch of clowns on YouTube, Twitter. But I think it's the opposite. I think we know exactly what we're talking about. So I read every single comment. So if you think what I'm saying is the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard, let me know in the comments below. If you think what I'm saying is the most amazing thing, then definitely please let me know. Either way, let's get into some discussions, let's get into some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and it's turning into something truly, truly special. And I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. So without further ado, let's get to it. We're watching a clip from The Herd with Colin Cowherd, talking about, can Brock Purdy hold back the 49ers? And I agree with this. I mean, honestly, The Herd is technically my favorite sports show, mainly probably because I agree with Colin more than any other public persona in sports than anyone else, because I think he does the things that I think that I try my best to do. He tries to, be unbiased and really see the reality of the situation. And he doesn't, sensationalize things or say extreme statements for the sake of saying them. So a lot of his takes are grounded. You could disagree with them, but he's not making like outrageous claims. And you would only believe that if you just don't like him. And if you don't like him, then, I don't know what to tell you. But before I hit play, I just want to say that Brock Purdy, absolutely, again, I want to emphasize this. I think Brock Purdy is a good quarterback. I said this in the beginning of the season, that Brock Purdy is a good quarterback, and I would not be upset if he was the quarterback of my team. But the problem is we're getting such pushback to this notion that Brock Purdy is this elite quarterback, that he is amazing. And they point like, look, he set all these records for 49ers and stuff like this. Again, past records, especially throwing records, offensive records, are it was such a long time ago, and the game has changed significantly. Okay, the rules have changed. The pass heavy offense has changed. So you're more likely to break these types of records. I'm not saying that it's not impressive of Purdy, but this idea that Purdy is someone was trying to argue to me that Purdy, is better than Mahomes, or that it remains to be, seen just yet. And it's just like, what are we talking about here? Purdy has done nothing to make us believe that he is as good or potentially better than Patrick Mahomes. It's just an insane statement to make. I mean, it really, really is. The reason why they won the other night is strictly because of the 49ers team and not Purdy, okay? Purdy had like one good drive, a couple good passes, but besides that, he literally was doing everything he could to lose that game for the 49ers. Really, really bad throws that absolutely should have been picked off. Like two definitely, maybe three. They got so lucky. He was clearly not confident. He was letting the rain and the water, get in his head and all this, just like showing his immaturity, which is understandable because he's so young and new. So that's like, we can give him the benefit of the doubt. But we got to step on the brakes here to say that he's just this elite, unstoppable force of a quarterback. It just is. He has not proven that once. He has not proven that once to us yet. Again, he has proven to be a capable quarterback. He has proven to be a starting quarterback, but he has not proven to be an elite quarterback. It's that simple.
There's nothing against Brock Purdy. It's not that he's bad. But what I've said all year is I don't see the special. I think a lot of this, most of it is the roster and Kyle Shanahan. And this weekend when the weather's...
This is your first time watching. I do not watch these clips beforehand. So the fact that I just said all this and then he pretty much just said that is just me and him see eye to eye on that one.
Not perfect. And he misses Deebo Samuel, who gets injured. He's ordinary. The final four quarterbacks are Lamar Jackson, about to be MVP for the second time, fastest quarterback ever. Patrick Mahomes, a wizard. Number one pick, Jared Goff. And the last guy picked in a draft, Brock Purdy. And here's another thing about the Niners. I love Kyle Shanahan, but he is completely tied to his play sheet. He doesn't feel like a great second-half adapter to me. He came with a game plan. It's usually brilliant. They usually roll over people, but they're not a good come-from-behind team because I'm not sure if they adapt. Once Deebo Samuel got hurt, it's not the same offense. You can't just do what you do with Lamar and say, take it over, kid. Make some plays with your feet. You watch Lamar and the Ravens, they're missing people all the time. Think about it. I mean, January football's different. The weather's worse. You get stars beaten up, they have to leave in the first quarter. Your opposition's better. The coaching's better. You got to adapt. I've seen this with San Francisco before. Better scheme, better roster, average quarterback, and they don't hold a trophy. I just can't see Brock Purdy, especially without Deebo Samuel, and they're getting very Christian McCaffrey reliant. I can't see him hosting a trophy. I mean, think about this. Lamar Jackson's on a third-string running back. Has a rookie receiver, missing his star tight end, and the left tackle sometimes available, sometimes not, and he's great. No impact. No impact. Meanwhile, Patrick Mahomes, receivers led the NFL in drops. Not been comfortable with his offensive tackles all year long. In the tougher AFC, his tight end's great but aging. Loses coordinators every couple years. No impact. 5-0 in his last 5 playoff games. Brock Purdy has a little reign, and Deebo Samuel leaves. It doesn't look the same. And January football is different. Green Bay should have won that game. Green Bay couldn't hit their kicks. Green Bay early dropped a pick 6. I mean, I'm watching the same thing you're watching. Green Bay was almost a 10-point dog. And I said all this past week.
And that's exactly my point. They were a 10-point dog. So, again, which is it? That the Packers are just trash and that the 49ers are elite, or both, or what? And so why was that game so close then? Because the Packers were never as bad as people thought they were, and the 49ers were never as good as they thought they were. The Packers lost that game. The 49ers did not win that game. And you guys might get sick of me saying that, but that's a common theme that I keep go to. When you watch a game, people love to just use the stats. Look what the stats show. And they think that the stats are facts. They're real and they're a reality, but they're just one piece of the puzzle, okay? You can't just rely on the stats, okay? It's just some of the data. I feel very fortunate because I have a science background, a background in research. I worked in research labs and where you actually collect data that really matters in the real world, right? Not just completion percentages, right? Like data that has potentially like life and death, outcomes, circumstances, impacts. And you realize that you don't just look at the numbers and just say, okay, great, 6 is greater than 3. Okay, there you go. Like you have very comprehensive statistical analysis and deep dives into like what you're looking at. And sometimes the data shows one thing and you still reject it and say, yeah, I know what the data showed, but we actually believe it's the opposite. And this is why. This is the trend, why we believe what we believe in. So you don't just look at the data and say, look, this team's better than that team. That's just not the way it works. And we know this. And because again, otherwise the number 1 seed, and it would just be, I'm going to keep saying this because I think this is the perfect example. Every single year, it would be the 1st and 2nd seed playing each other in the NFC and AFC championship. And then the Super Bowl would be the 1 versus 1. And then who's ever technically the better team in that situation would win every single time. And that's not what happens. We wouldn't be watching these games and we would all be brilliant bettors. We would all be loaded. Okay. And that's just not the case. So this stuff can be hard. So I understand the trickiness of it. But when you watch that game and you really watch and look at it, you can see Lamar being special, Lamar being elite. You can see Patrick Mahomes being special, being elite. You can see Josh Allen being special, being elite. You watch the 49ers Packers game and you do not see Brock Purdy as being special, being elite. And I give him the benefit of the doubt to not be that because it's literally his 2nd season and only his first full complete season. So I give him the benefit of the doubt here. So and that's why it's like unfair to like be like he needs to be elite, he needs to be all this. But you watch that game and you're just like, Christian McCaffrey won that game. Ayuk won that game. The defense won that game. The missed field goal by the Packers. So the Packers lost that game way more than the 49ers won that game. So again, if you're a 49ers fan, ask yourself why. Is it because the Packers were never as bad as you thought they were? Or are the 49ers never as good as you thought they were? I think it's both. I think the 49ers are clearly not as good as everyone thinks they are because they've proven that, okay? My whole narrative is that the 49ers got this lore by being this amazing, unstoppable team because they destroyed the Packers, or they destroyed the Eagles, and they destroyed the Cowboys. And I kept saying that the Eagles and the Cowboys are not that good of teams. So by beating them, it's not that impressive. And then when they did have a competitive game, against teams that are actually playing hard, gritty, good football, they lost and got demolished in some cases, aka against the Ravens. I mean, demolished. They were embarrassed. It wasn't even close, that game. And I'm not just using that one game as an indicator. I'm using it as one of the data points to look at. But I'm also referencing some of these other games that the 49ers showed who they are. And so I think the 49ers are really, really vulnerable. And I think one of the biggest reasons for that is that you can't look to Brock Purdy and say, go out and win me this game. He can't put the 49ers on his back like Josh Allen can with the Bills, like Patrick Mahomes can with the Chiefs, like Lamar Jackson can with the Ravens. He lacks that. And again, that's okay. Not everyone has that. Not everyone is in that level. And so it's going to be really interesting to see how it kind of unfolds.
Green Bay's the real deal here. Now, the only thing they're missing is time on task. Green Bay's incredibly young and really, really extraordinarily talented. Maybe not Detroit stack talented, but on offense, they got nothing but talent, twitch. They just don't have enough games. And so Jordan Love a little erratic. They make some mistakes. But I'm telling you, championship teams are overcoming. Baltimore's missing people constantly with Lamar. No impact. Mahomes, receivers lead the NFL in drops. Here they are again. Rain and missing Debo? I mean, obviously, Brock Purdy struggles gripping the ball. It's pretty well known. There's a hand size in the NFL that is, what scouts and GMs want. Not every quarterback has it, but, I mean, he's skipping balls to Christian McCaffrey in the flat because it's raining. I'm sorry. That does not feel like a Super Bowl host the Lombardi Trophy team or quarterback. So there were 8 quarterbacks I watched this weekend. San Francisco's was the 8th most talented. I'm sorry. It's what I see. I'm not a stat guy. If stats mattered, Buffalo beats Kansas City because I saw Buffalo after the game. All their stats were better than Kansas City's. Kansas City, not a volume team, efficient team.
And I think that's a great point. I don't know if I would say Brock Purdy was worse than Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield is a very tricky quarterback because he can do some things that to the eye make him look real good because he's like mobile, but not like mobile enough. And he can kind of scramble and kind of do some cool things that gives this illusion that he's like Patrick Mahomes-esque almost. But I mean, like, he is like a discount. Like he is those, $10 pair of shoes that just want to look like Nikes, but they are not Nikes. They hurt your feet. Your feet are all crooked after you worn them for the day. They get scuffed and dirty very easily. And I don't want to turn this into like a hate on Baker Mayfield thing, but like Baker Mayfield, the problem with Baker is that he thinks he's better than he is. He thinks he's more agile, mobile. That's why he gets sacked like he does. That's why he throws his interceptions, because he thinks, I can escape, I can do this, I can do that. And the truth is, he can do that 1 out of 5 times. Okay? Patrick Mahomes can do it like 3 out of 5 times, 4 out of 5 times. In some games, 5 out of 5 times. That's the difference. And when you're talking about sports, those little margins really matter. So again, someone like a Baker Mayfield can do something like that 1 out of 5 times. And so when he does it that one time, you're like, whoa. And it's the same thing with Dak. That's what I kind of say that they're, I think Baker's like 1 notch below Dak, because it's just very similar in that regard. But you don't see that with Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy did make some really nice throws against the Packers. He did. I'm not like, which is why I'm trying to tell you, I'm not saying that Brock Purdy is this trash garbage quarterback, but he has not proven himself to being elite. And when you just watch the game, to me, it's very, very obvious. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens this weekend, to see how Detroit handles it and how Brock Purdy's going to handle it, because I know Brock Purdy does not feel good at the end of that game. That game did not boost his confidence. If anything, it deterred from it. He knows. He seems like that, and that's the thing. Well, that is the one thing I do like about Brock Purdy. You have a lot of these guys that clearly, and I mentioned this earlier in a different video, about athletes have this insane belief in themselves. And on one side, it's really good and it helps them. And on other sides, it can really hold them back. It really, really depends on the situation in the moment, honestly. Purdy lacks that confidence, which again makes sense because he hasn't proven himself to elite. And this past game, he does not see himself as stepping up. He did not see himself as playing good. He did not see himself. He did not feel comfortable. So even by winning, he knows that he did not feel comfortable that whole game. He knows that he got lucky and could have thrown multiple interceptions and didn't. He knows he easily could have lost that game. So he didn't. He does not feel good. He feels like he just, was driving on the freeway and some guy changed lanes across him and he had to quickly step on the brakes and kind of swerve. He knows, oh my God, heart racing, that could have gone really bad, really fast. That could have been an 8-car pileup with me upside down on the opposite lane of the freeway. And it didn't. He got lucky. He was able to step on the brakes and swerve a little bit and avoid the collision. That's how Brock Purdy feels right now. So the way they start the 49ers game is really going to matter. Because if the 49ers can get settled and get going, then I think Brock Purdy could maybe get settled and calm the nerves. But there is no way that Brock Purdy's going into the NFC Championship game feeling confident, feeling comfortable, feeling collected, feeling like I got this. Because again, the Packers are supposed to be a significantly worse team than Detroit. And look how much he struggled against the Packers. It should only get harder for him against Detroit. So we shall see. I cannot wait. I just wish we could fast forward to these games. God, the playoffs have been so awesome this season. I've been loving it. Hopefully you have been too. But let me know in the comments below. Do you think Brock Purdy is the next Tom Brady? Do you think he's better than Patrick Mahomes or going to be better than Patrick Mahomes? Do you think he actually holds back the 49ers? Or do you think the reason why they're going to win the Super Bowl is indeed because of Brock Purdy? I would love to hear your thoughts on this one. Please let me know in the comments below. Please don't forget to subscribe. As I said, we are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. And please give this video a thumbs up. It's just a little click. It's so easy for you, and it costs you nothing, and it means everything to me. It really helps with the visibility and the algorithm, and I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. So thank you so much, and see you next time.